Mandalorian helmets should have little hooks so the owner could attach charms to it like it's an old phone case. The most dangerous bounty hunter in the galaxy shows up to kill you and hide your body, except he looks like this. Do you see the vision? Getting new technology feels more infuriating every year. Got a new computer for the first time in 8 years, and everything about Windows 11 and how it handles OneDrive is driving me up the wall. The general attitude towards the user feels so much more opaque and condescending than it used to be. Like, nah, we don't think you really want to change that setting, so we'll have an extra secret hidden step to make sure you do it our way instead, smiley face. Gargle my balls, Microsoft. Mr. Email, me a mail. Make the attachment a pic of a snail. Bum 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 bum. This book has been banned in USSR, China, and the United States. Banned in USSR for being anti-communist. Banned in US for being pro-communist. The book is 1984, which is neither. It's anti-authoritarian, which tells you a lot. You know, sometimes I wish the joke didn't write itself. Google search, what do they put in sports bras that makes them hot as fudge? Boobs? Tumblr is doing the same thing to My Little Pony as it did to Breaking Bad, but in the opposite direction. Tumblr Breaking Bad. Jesse, we gotta get your tea refilled before the Rite Aid closes, or it's going to ruin our weekend antiquing plans. Tumblr My Little Pony. Uh-oh guys, Rainbow Dash is threatening to set a Taco Bell on fire because the city finally shut off her electricity. It is physically impossible to exceed the 70-pound domestic weight limit for a small flat-rate box. The interior dimensions are approximately 75.333 cubic inches. If you fill the box with pure osmium, the densest substance known to man, it would weigh around 61.48 pounds. Favorite kind of tweets that make me love people a little more. Technically, you could fill it with neutron degenerate matter and change your problems from exceeding the weight limit to all the consequences of somehow having a piece of a neutron star on Earth. Funnily enough, should have said densest substance on Earth. Fill it with neutron star and you'll be approximately 30 trillion kilograms overweight. Had to post this correction before Neil Tyson popped in with an actually. The threat of Neil deGrasse Tyson is constant and omnipresent. Batman villains are funny because they all end up in Arkham over and over, so it's just like Killer Croc painting a beautiful and sensitive portrait representing his inner turmoil. I had no idea, insert plant, was an invasive species in Gotham. Poison Ivy painting a photorealistic fern. They are, they're so widespread that it's almost impossible to contain, and it really hurts my heart. Joker trying so flipping hard not to call them homophobic slurs because a therapist told him he'd get extra Joker mush if he behaved for once in his freaking life. Joker mush. Joker mush. Joker mush. At this point, the toxic waste he fell into borked him up so bad he won't eat anything that hasn't been mashed up and irradiated, so the Arkham doctors just throw random crap in a pot and mash it up for him. He loves it. Watching the world of very professional paleontologists descend into meme communication because the biggest paleo conference of the year accidentally censored the words hell and bone has been a highlight of my day. All hail Heck Creek and Bone! What? My wife is presenting to a conference tomorrow. She's had to submit a Q&A in advance of her talk, and the conference are using a software to censor swear words. One of the words it is censoring is bone. It's a paleontology conference. I'm currently at the conference, and other choice banned words include stroke, jerk, and stream. Absolutely no one can figure out stream. The Federation itself as a concept is so funny because the founding members are the Vulcans, who've been friends with humanity for years but don't seem to actually like them all that much, instead regarding them with a sort of perverse fascination usually reserved for virology labs. The Andorians, who are fighting the Vulcans for like 100 years. The Tellarites, who don't like any of these people and whose cultural trait is arguing, and humans, whom nobody knew existed until the last century when they shot themselves into space on a heavily modified nuke, invented world peace, and want to fight with the nearest imperial superpower. Like, imagine you're the Romulan Empire, and these weird monkeys who've barely figured out interstellar travel show up on your doorstep in the equivalent of a shipping container with missiles strapped to it. Kick your butt in front of everybody, and then start a friendship club with 3 of your neighbors who all hated each other's guts until like a year ago. Now I understand why every Romulan on the show is so angry. So apparently with the tribes that have like discrete sites of power, the avatar would rotate where they were born, which for air meant it would go something like northern, western, southern, eastern, and for the water tribe meant it would alternate between north and south, which is part of why the southern tribe had been so depleted. Soza knew that was where the next avatar would be born. But the swamp is absurdly connected to the spirit world, and definitely should have gone into the rotation, and I'm just Just imagining, an AU where Aang didn't make it, and Sozin just assumed the southern tribe was next. And anyway, 20 years later, this god, Aang, fully realized, hick, from the sticks, Avatar emerges from the swamp and puts the herding on the Fire Nation. Instead of a polar bear dog or whatever, their animal companion is an alligator. I see your Aang didn't make it AU and raise you. Korra from the Swamp Tribe AU. The Last Airbender, the Legend of Florida Woman. The 5 types of canon. Canon, what actually happened. Headcanon, what you think happened, based on the characters, settings, storylines, and all reasonable extrapolations thereof. Heart canon, what you feel ought to have happened, quite divorced from rationality or sense. Soul canon, what you know happened, deep down in your soul, regardless of what anyone says, including the creators of canon themselves. Crotch canon, what your gonads wish had happened, or alternatively, what turns you on. I remember adults telling me as a kid to listen to doctors and get my flu vaccine and any shots I could because they remembered before. Then they started fighting COVID precautions. I remember adults telling me as a kid that the ozone was disappearing and the earth was dying, and we need to recycle and save the planet. Now my parents think climate change is a myth. I remember adults telling me as a kid that racism was a plague, that we had to love and accept everyone, that we should never judge before walking a mile in their shoes. Then they told me that protesting for my black siblings was wrong. I remember adults telling me as a kid that we need to give to the poor, working at soup kitchens, making quilts, collecting food and money and supplies, building houses, because it was the Christian and just plain right thing to do. Now they look at me on food stamps with their grandchildren and lament the welfare state. I remember adults telling me as a kid that it was easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven, and that any rich man, especially an immoral one, should never run our country. You can guess who they voted for. I remember adults telling me as a kid so very much. When did they forget? Tragedy number 290. Art student vampire unable to complete self-portrait assignment. Are you telling me an art student vampire couldn't hit them with the "It may not be reflective of my outward appearance, but it's a reflection upon my emotional self"? Art school is 100% raw, unfiltered bullcrap. That's my icon honors degree for writing vampire fanfics. My favorite trope is janitor in headphones continues cleaning through extreme action. Hype in the janitor in headphones, and trust me, it's an act. We just don't want to be involved in the nonsense. Male gender nonconformity becoming more mainstream than GNC women is in large parts about capitalism. What's a better business? Post from some sort of phantom bizarro universe. Alright, here we go. We're devoting all your available brain cells to coming up with a question about communism. Scratch that, to coming up with the question about communism. The alpha and omega of communism questions. And that question is, are femboys bourgeois? Oh god, that's bad. Surely I can think of something better. Bruce haters will present you with a 30-year-old panel of Bruce beating up a drug addict and say, "Here, I have undeniable proof that Batman is a bad guy actually." And if you say, "Don't you think this was politically motivated and says more about the writer than Batman himself?" they will respond with, "Well, my favorite character never beat up any drug addicts as part of a misguided attempt by DC to discourage teenagers from abusing, you know, what Walter White made in the mid-90s. Not their exact words. And then you have to find a nice way to tell them that their favorite character is culturally insignificant. Pensive emoji. I hated Bruce ever since he cut his son's neck. Go ahead and explain how that's politically motivated or whatever. Oh wait. Jason should have ducked. That's on him. My toddler is 3 years old and won't eat anything other than fine porterhouse steaks and sweet port wine. You need to discipline your child. Port is a horrible choice for the main course and wildly clashes with a rich béarnaise. Dude, he's 3. And uncultured. Get a new child. Guy in a fistfight, very clearly winning, but he's sobbing and wailing the whole time. Guy visibly getting his keister wrecked in a fistfight, but he's talking smack about the other guy like he's winning. Bruh, a dude I know from work came in for the first time in months, and I thought he looked different but couldn't figure out why. So I asked if he'd change his hair, and he was like, "Baby girl, I got top surgery." I almost died. Girl, he had F-cups. Frick. God damn, how didn't you notice? Mike from work. Mike with a haircut? Like this. I'm just thinking about how many times I've heard my dad on a long call with an obvious scammer, and I'll start begging him to get off the phone because I always think he's a very easy mark and he'll just keep going. Then after a while, he'll say something like, "I died 20 years ago," and hang up. Virgin millennial daughter with 20 hours of screen time a day. "Dad, they're scamming you. Dad, stop. They will take your savings and your identity. Hang up before they swat you." Chad Boomer Dad with the flip phone he has not recharged since 2014. Well gee, I wish I could give you my bank account number after you spent all this time on the phone explaining this car deal with me, but I don't have access to my finances because I'm in Rikers for felony murder. My mom used to just give me, a 5-year-old at the time, the phone. She'd say, okay, these are some mean grown-ups who want to steal our money. Tell them everything you know about Chambered Nautilus. If they hang up by themselves, we'll go to Pizza Hut. Worked every time. I got to have a captive audience. Mom got to see the joy in my eyes, and no one got scammed. They always hung up by the third tangent. Jumping from childcare to private security really messes with you. I keep saying, oopsie daisy, and encouraging drunk folks to go home, drink some water, and take a nap, and let's try again in 24 hours, okay? Best part by far is that it's working. Guy went like he was going to fight me the other day, and his buddy said, you leave the nice lady alone. Incredible. Good for you. I went from being a nanny to bartending and accidentally put a whole bachelorette party in timeout. 100% recommend. It was great. You wrote about murder? Murder is illegal. You wrote about this dude killing someone, and you didn't even say murder is bad at the start of the book. What? WTF? WTF is wrong with you? I can't believe you condone murder. I can't believe you're pro-murder. Oh my freaking god, don't talk to me when you literally kill people, freak. I'm calling the cops, what the flip? I'm shaking and crying. I think my dream in life is to get one of those small, oddly specific jobs that always show up in quirky movies, like being a stamp artist or something. Let me support myself by going out in the woods with a normal-sized easel with a comically small canvas to paint each stamp individually, and I somehow have a house this way. This could be me if I wasn't a coward. I love Hideo Kojima. He makes multiple games where characters give long-winded monologues that he personally wrote about how US entertainment media is designed to manufacture consent for the military, and then he'll spend 3 days gushing about Top Gun. Kojima is very anti-war, but also he has like a little kid brain where he just loves military hardware and spies and soldiers, and he especially loves big machines that go really fast and make huge kabooms. And I think it's the tension between these two parts of him that makes his art so deliciously insane. He'll spend 3 hours describing the intricate parts of a tank before condemning its users for destroying an innocent town with it. Did you hear about how the US military was using an AI to identify tanks that kept giving weird results, and they found out through trial and error that all their data was pictures taken on sunny, clear days, so it was just identifying nice weather? Considering a bunch of Marines defeat a similar infantry-focused system by, checks notes, somersaulting, holding tree branches as they walked, and going full solid snake and crawling up to it under a cardboard box, I am unsurprised that the AI is being too literal. It's like pattern recognition isn't really intelligence or something. Interesting, isn't it? Now the Marines would try to defeat the AI system. 8 Marines, not a single one got detected. They defeated the AI system not with traditional camouflage, but with clever tricks that were outside of the AI system's testing regime. 2 somersaulted for 300 meters, never got detected. 2 hid under a cardboard box. The AI system had been trained to detect humans walking, not humans somersaulting, hiding in a cardboard box. Hideo Kojima, stop predicting the future challenge. Impossible. I'm looking for people who are interested in turning $100 to $5,000. This is not a pyramid scheme or crypto/NFT project. We will be selling illegal pharmaceuticals. Oh, thank God, a reputable profession. Despicable Me ruined the word minion. Whenever I become a supervillain, I'm just gonna have to call them my homies or whatever. Try being in a group of 10 or more Jewish adults, pensive emoji. Hang on, I need to ask some of my Jewish friends something. Yeah, this is funny. A concept. Harry Potter with his mother's hair and father's eyes instead of vice versa. Harry with fiery dark red hair and soft hazel eyes, please and thank you. I imagine this is how Harry and Draco's first meeting would have gone then, haha. After biting a fae, the vampire claims that she must serve him, for his bite converted her into his thrall. The fae claims that the vampire must serve her, for the vampire ate fae food without her permission. As none of them is willing to give up, they bring the case to you, a lawyer. Congratulations! What? They both ask, confused. On your new marriage! It's not actually possible to bully TV tropes users enough. Hates reading. Insufferable imbecile. Death. Ineffectual death threats. Do you want to go into deep sea or space? Neither. The Lord made me of and for the dirt. To the tunnels it is then. This is where I posed from. Patrick Stewart boldly explores his own final frontier. Captain Picker is gonna touch himself. Did you guys know he's married to a woman 39 years younger than him? Not to age discourse, but I do think he should be decapitated. Sorry. His wife is 44 years old. The having coitus with that old man website when someone actually has coitus with that old man. They didn't marry the moment she turned 18 either. A quick Wikipedia glance and they got married when she was 35. That's not a young adult inexperienced in adulthood being coerced into a relationship by a predator. It's a grown woman who decides she wanted to do the hanky-panky with that old man. And put a ring on him. You are here, enjoying 2 to 18 beers. What? Why am I in the Andromeda Galaxy? Wizard's Curse. I think the reason why the assassination of Julius Caesar is one of the funniest political assassinations is for this very simple reason. One guy stabs one guy. Not funny. That's murder. 2 guys stab one guy. Even less funny. That's 2 against 1. 60 guys stab one guy. Uproariously funny. Why do you need so many guys? Boomers.
Goddamn millennials and their participation trophies. They even want one if they lose.
Also boomers. Memes that get you unfriended by relatives on Facebook. That post you reblogged made me unfollow you. It was incredibly disrespectful and tone deaf. You're a disgusting human being. I hope you feel like the sack of human feces you are. Memes that get you unfollowed by randoms on Tumblr. Taken style action movie where a man searches for his wife. As he fights baddies in gunfights and hand-to-hand combat, it's slowly revealed that 1. His wife hasn't been kidnapped. 2. Their marriage is not healthy or functional. 3. This guy isn't rescuing his wife, he's hunting her down. 4. His wife is a crime boss. Those are her hench people he's fighting in a John Wick bloodbath. The tension builds until, drenched in blood, our protagonist steps forward for the final showdown. He pulls a manila envelope from his bullet-torn jacket and throws it at his wife's feet. He just spent an entire trilogy biting and killing and maiming, all so he can deliver his crap wife her divorce papers. This is because you don't answer your emails, Bethany. It's not that hard to get stuff notarized, Bethany. Many banks provide that service, Bethany, free of charge. People underestimate how much it screws you up to be suddenly excluded as a kid. I would try to talk to my classmates and be met with disinterest or annoyance. The one friend I had, who I clung to and nodded along to his every word, had other friends he liked just as much or more, and his other friends didn't care for me at all. I look back at pictures from the time and see how separated I was from them. I remember knowing I was different. I remember posing questions about the world to the girls playing next to me and realizing that they had never asked the same ones to themselves, that the ways we thought couldn't be more different. I kept myself amused with my own fanatical stories and musings in my head. I would wander the playground on a circular path, imagining a friend and being sorely disappointed when it didn't feel as real as I'd hoped. There was a bubble separating me from everyone else, thin and nearly invisible, but with a pearly sheen you could catch under the right conditions. I knew it was there, they knew it was there, and it changed me. All demographics and time periods and geography taken fully into consideration, some people were just born to lose. Thomas Midgley Jr. was thinking of this guy when I made this post. Invented the 2 most environmentally damaging chemicals in history, and then got polio and immediately killed himself with the contraption. One-man environmental disaster. They called that man an organism. As bad as your worst day has ever been, do you have a Wikipedia article saying you possess an instinct for the regrettable that is almost uncanny? You can unscrew the screws from the train windows using your screwdriver. At Amtrak official. Rating, not cute. Please don't do this, it seriously hurts the train. It could also hurt a passenger because it could lead to them sticking their arm out the window. What if I unscrew rusty screws, then screw in new screws from a little baggie I stuck on the train? I suppose I can allow it. Bugs don't get trapped in resin like they used to. Now everything is woke! Hey, I for one am very glad bugs don't get trapped in resin anymore. Actually, I think that's a very good thing. You would think that. Commie. No internet interaction will ever again reach the high of chaos of the "Does Germany still exist? Official German government. Yes. Thanks." The face of a creature that knows nothing. Wrong. It knows the warmth of your cupped hands. It knows how it feels to have a full belly. And it knows the feeling of soft pets on its fur. I think this guy knows how to make math with an E. By the way, if you're going to go down the route of everyone lives happily ever after, by which I mean gets married and settles down and plenty of kids at the end of your story, then the only right way to do it is to give the villain character a kid as well, and have these descendants meet and become best friends before the sins of their fathers inevitably come back to haunt them and turn their innocent childhood friendship into a nightmare psychosexual rivalry in which people are killed. The whole "why do girls travel in packs when they go to the bathroom, lol" joke gets a lot less funny when you realize that's because we've had it etched and engraved into our minds since our parents first started dropping us off at the movies or at the mall that we absolutely always need to stick together with our girlfriends no matter what, even when we go to the bathroom, because the bigger the group we were in, the smaller the chances were of us being harassed or abducted by creepy older men in public. This is my weird son. He can't climb for crap, but he is handsome and strong. Cats be like, is anybody adopt that? And don't wait for an answer. Everything that isn't food is a cat from the perspective of a cat. Cats can look upon the true form of eldritch monstrosities and keep their sanity. They just see another cat, a freaking weird looking cat, but a cat nonetheless. Those tentacles will take a lot of licking to keep clean, but it's nothing I haven't dealt with before. Hold still, kitten. Mother cats' instincts are so strong that they will just start taking care of anything vaguely kit-shaped that shows up in their nest. Considering feral cats often raise kits communally, it helps for them not to be picky. I think people often underestimate the potential educational value of senseless memes. For example, thanks to Spider's George, literally every teenager on Tumblr has a reasonable grasp of what a statistical outlier is, and the sorts of problems that outliers can introduce into a naive analysis. There are grown adults who don't get that. I deal with them on a daily basis. Memes have educational value, actually statistical error. Average meme teaches 0 facts. Spider's George is an outlier and should not be counted. Dietitian. Common food or product is bad for you, carcinogenic, etc. Other dietitian. No, you're wrong. Evidence says it's good. Me. Sweating and pointing a gun between them. Dietitian. Bread is bad for you. Me. Shoots that one. Begging everyone on the internet to stop smoothing out their middle-aged men and draw wrinkles. For the love of God, I promise it's so fun, you'll love it. Come into my wine cellar. No. Did you just de-walt my freaking white? My collection of weird social practices that are too funny to be considered rude. Holding the door slightly open for people. Gently waving a guy over at the club just to say, I only wanted to see if you'd obey. Artist ordered to pay museum back $77,000 after submitting 2 blank canvases under the title, Take the Money and Run. Okay, but why did they have to pay the museum back? That is, and I cannot overstate this, actually art. They chose to exhibit it. They knew what it was. They shouldn't be allowed to go back on that, especially when it's art. This fighting game pits classic writers like Hemingway and Lovecraft against each other. Furious that I'm not a playable character in this game. Enormously relieved that I am not a playable character in this game. Isn't it odd how the human mind expands inwardly forever? I can build characters and worlds and universes and define new laws of nature. Construct stories and timelines and fit it all together inside my own head. And yet I can't draw a flippin' lamp! I can't express how true this is. I often think about that one interview where someone asks a young Taylor Swift if she doesn't find it wrong to drop name her exes in songs, and she's like, well, if they didn't want songs about them, they shouldn't have done bad things. And I honestly think she's so right. Like, I see absolutely no flaw in her logic. Anyways, stream my new single called Taylor Swift's Carbon Emissions, available on all streaming platforms until I get a cease and desist under the threat of a defamation lawsuit, smiley face. Not that incels and like aren't a problem, but I'm tired of anytime anyone brings up men and systemic issues, people responding with, that doesn't mean they get to kill people. Yeah, true. Did you know other men exist and also deserve to be discussed? Who cares about male loneliness? It's just an incel excuse. Whoa, crazy idea, but what if by only talking about MRAs when the topic of men's issues comes up, you actually help MRAs recruit vulnerable people because they appear to be the only group taking these issues seriously? Male loneliness is not a men's issue because it is not a real thing. Only MRAs and incels and Nazis address it because it is not a real thing. What's next? Start talking about the Great Replacement as if it's real because otherwise it's only neo-Nazis taking it seriously? You kind of have to decide whether you're going to talk about reality or delve into the entire alternate universe nonsense world those types believe in, where the axioms of the worldview make it impossible to argue for what really happens. Hi friends, is the concept of male alienation under patriarchy, something pretty frequently acknowledged by many feminists, the same as the freaking Great Replacement conspiracy? For people with anxiety about filing taxes, here's what things that happen when you make a mistake on your tax return. It gets corrected. You get a letter in the mail, either asking for some additional information or a letter showing the adjustment. You pay the amount, there's options for payment plans too, or get a refund. Things that do not happen. You're in trouble. You are charged with fraud. You go to jail. I know that most people are probably just joking/exaggerating when they say a mistake on the return means they get thrown in jail, but when I worked with the public, I always would encounter people who believed that would happen and they would be panicking about it. So I like to put this out there every year because if I can even prevent one person from feeling that way, it's worth it. Annual reblog of this important information. The thingy above where you sign your tax form says that you filled it out to the best of your ability, "Sir, I'm a goofy goober" is 100% a valid defense. I was with my mother's family and they were talking to me about my religious studies major. My great aunt asked me what the definition of hell was, and I responded, "Well, I suppose it depends on who you ask." Nearly all the participants in the group decided that hell was the absence of God, which I suppose is a fair answer, albeit not a universal one. My cousin's wife was playing with her 3-year-old daughter, and she says, "Well, mommy says that hell is a McDonald's play place." As if this 3-year-old girl is so freaking hilarious. Her mothers have signed her up for a toddler yoga class, and so she has adopted a very unique language. This child also has an imaginary friend named Mom, which is, in her mind, the boss of her 2 mothers. For example, my cousin's wife explained to me how her daughter got mad at them one time. The little girl situated herself at the corner of her crib, pretended to type on a cell phone, and said, "I'm writing an email to Mom right now and telling her how bad you 2 are. Namaste." The family's big theory about Mom is that both my cousin and her wife are referred to as Mommy and Mama. The nickname Mom is not used in the house because it would just be confusing. However, when interacting with the world, people tell their daughter that they will tell her mom if she is doing something wrong. So this child automatically assumes that there is this greater mom figure that is responsible for distributing universal justice. To be fair to the toddler, that's pretty much how religions get started. Our mom, who aren't gonna hear about this. Woman at the zoo. "Why do they look so sad?" Sign literally 10 feet away. Not humans, not pets. Assumptions based on human behavior can be misleading. Human. Sad, worried. Howler monkey, excited, happy. Human, neutral, relaxed. Chimpanzee, afraid, submissive. The life of a pet is not good for a primate. I'll never forget being at the Oregon Zoo and hearing people talk about how sad one of the chimpanzees looked. He was sitting on a log, his back to one of the viewing areas, hunched over, and they were saying, "Oh, he looks depressed, he must hate it here." But then, when you walked around to the other side, you'd see that he was simply beating his Richard like it owed him money. Hasbun Hotel ticks me off because the concept itself really isn't that bad, but it falls short in reality due to the incurable curse of being made by Vivzy Pop. Satan's daughter believes sinners have a chance of being redeemed, despite how strict and unforgiving heaven is to those who have fallen. Interesting. Has potential. There's a Johnson joke every 7 seconds, and almost every plot point is wrapped up within 1 episode. Stop! Enough! Ever since I made that deal, I felt like a part of me is missing. How can I ever be redeemed if I'm not even whole now? Whole? Like, butthole? XD? No! Like, come on! We're so close! Please! Cheese is just a loaf of milk. She's right, and I'm scared. This implies a liquid form of bread. Beer? Holy guacamole. So I asked my boyfriend to talk dirty to me in Bulgarian during fun time. It was incredibly hot until I recognized the word tomato and I asked him what he was saying. He then admitted that he was explaining how to make a salad. Family gathering, playing Monopoly, getting close to the end. 12-year-old turns to 8-year-old brother and says, "It's time to become esteemed colleagues." I say, "What?" He says, "Esteemed colleagues." They merge their money and assets and beat me at Monopoly. The concept of jaywalking, one of the craziest inventions to me. You're just making stuff up. No loitering. You're just making crap up. I really think these cities and small towns that are just policed to hell and back on every infinitesimal public presence or activity explains why you get white people coming to like West Asia or wherever else, waxing poetic about how busy and eclectic and chaotic the streets are. This is normal. Loitering, being a punishable offense, is not freaking normal. When I first moved to Canada and realized you couldn't have a flipping beer in the park, I knew this place was a freak show. Fun fact, the reason otherkin are called otherkin is because originally there were online communities way back in the 90s of people who identified as elves. When people emerged who identified as other things, the elfkin called them otherkin because they weren't elves. The elf superiority complex remains a vital moral of the species despite universe I see. That is so freaking funny. Doctors are like, "Here is your appointment. If you are late, I will personally kill you." But when you show up on time, they are like, "I am so sorry. There will be about 1,000 years delay." Pokes you with my doctor stick as you lie face down on the ground. Emits a cloud of toxic spores. Well, there's no need to be dramatic. I physically had to draw this. The trouble of centaurs. So you know how colts can run almost right away after they're born, but babies can't even hold their own heads up for a long time? Yeah. My parent has a vague understanding of the word no. He knows to stop doing what he's doing when he hears it, and he knows how to say it. He knows it's a word that is used when he's doing something he shouldn't be doing. However, being told no doesn't make him stop doing it in the future. If he's ever out of my sight or if I'm not paying attention, I know exactly when he's doing something bad. Because he says no to himself as he does it. So when trans people take chemicals that radically change their body in order to live happier and freer lives, it's fine. But when I, Henry Jekyll... This is so stupid, but I had to. So here's the situation. I've been gnawing my way through a pack of blue raspberry Jolly Ranchers like a deranged rodent, and now I've stuck molars together, and I'm sipping coffee through my teeth until they're unstuck, and I don't know if I'm having a bad time or an average time, but it tastes really flavor. The second I unweld my jaw, I'm eating another Jolly Rancher. Is this person okay? No. Heart. Miraculous news, everyone. I went to the dentist for the first time in a few years, and I have no cavities. No, I don't know how. Yes, I asked if they were really sure. Guillotines often backfired, leaving the victim's head even more strongly attached than it was before the attempt. Honestly, with the AI data mining, we need facts I just made up now more than ever. Facts I just made up. Be following the collective consciousness since 2012. 2012 is not unreality, by the way. I am old. God didn't give me a Richard because I would read poems and get hard, and then everyone would be mean to me. Thank God I'm not a boy, because then I couldn't read fanfics in public. I visited a gun shop in Indiana once and had to use the bathroom. Inside was a portrait of a naked man with a thick wooden board covering where his private part would be. Curiosity got the best of me and I tried to lift the board. It let off an air horn throughout the whole store. I think my favorite part of the Thor trilogy is how at the end of Dark World we saw this. And we all just went, oh crap, Loki's king, everyone's screwed. But then Ragnarok rolled around and it turns out all he does is watch plays of himself and build big statues. Like, hot damn, the Avengers really wasted a whole movie trying to stop this dude when they could have just written him a play and built him a statue and he would have been satisfied. He also built rails on the bridge so people would stop falling off of it. All the man wants is some entertainment and basic safety. He financed the arts and public infrastructure. Mozart 2x speed left ear, Bible in Chinese right ear. What effect is this supposed to have on me? Jay Gatsby's car was a real hit with the ladies. I know literally nothing about Great Gatsby, but I know Tumblr. And with that knowledge, I am 500% sure that Jay Gatsby hit some mother trucker with his car. Was walking alone through the alley behind my apartment and saw a weird guy. So I checked that I had my pepper spray, and I guess the guy saw me do that because he said, "Don't worry, I'm more scared of you than you are of me." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "I'm terrified of women." Happy International Women's Day to this dude, wherever he is now. When W.H. Auden said, "Evil is unspectacular and always human," and Ursula K. Le Guin said, "This is the great treason of the artist, a refusal to admit the banality of evil and the terrible boredom of pain." When Toni Morrison said, "I just think goodness is more interesting. Evil is constant. You can think of different ways to murder people, but you can do that at age 5. But you have to be an adult to consciously, deliberately be good. And that's complicated." When Simone Weil said, "Imaginary evil is romantic and buried. Real evil is gloomy, monotonous, barren, boring. Imaginary good is boring. Real good is always new, marvelous, intoxicating." I hope Rooster Teeth immediately crumbles and shuts down the moment season 19 drops, so the company starts and ends with red versus blue, like a cursed amulet that drains your life force and corrupts your mind. Random internet users just trying to be comedic. Apollo, the gift of prophecy. Are you kidding me? 2 Apollo balls, 2 months. Writing tip. If you push buttons on a keyboard, letters will appear on the screen, and with that power, you can do anything. I think it was cruel to give Lightning McQueen a foot fixation, as he lives in a world where all feet are wheels. He has nothing. Sorry, I wasn't talking to you, I think. Please. Duolingo has more gay representation than the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Can you please elaborate? There are more gay characters on Duolingo than the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm sorry, I'm not over this yet. Seal breaks into New Zealand home, traumatizes cat, and hangs out on couch. Phil Ross, who happens to be a marine biologist, said it was unfortunate he was the only one not home at the time. Imagine being a marine biologist and a marine biology comes to visit you, but you're not home. List a media where the title is significantly more accurate than you expect going in. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Everything Everywhere All at Once. The Thing. The AI's aversion to producing anything that's not aesthetically pleasing dentist office artwork leaves it unable to comprehend true beauty. The constant rolling disaster that is Overwatch's game development aside, what really perplexes me about how Blizzard is handling the broader franchise is their continual insistence that a canon narrative exists in spite of their equally continual refusal to tell anyone what it is. Like, okay, the events of the games aren't canon. Fair enough, the games are multiplayer only, and you can't account for player actions. Oh, and the animated short films aren't canon either. They're properly understood as in-universe propaganda, not depictions of actual events. That's a little high concept for you guys, but fine. But surely the comics are canon, right? Well, no. Some of the comics, we're not telling you which ones, were canon at one point, but the writing team has decided to go in a different direction. My dudes, what is left? The weird source filmmaker animations? Is that canon? Well, apparently it's at least as canon as anything else. I know unicorns are usually silver or lavender with those skinny horse legs built for running, but I'd like to see more unicorns with natural coloration built like tanks like these beasts. We need like a scale of unicorn. On one end you have Amalthea Last Unicorn, who is the peak of elegant otherworldly unicorns with silver and lavender colors. We need the opposite of that. We need a unicorn who looks like the horse version of a trucker. Like this. Don't get me wrong, I don't give two damns about the English royal family, but this PR crisis they're in right now is just wild. Every time you think they're done digging themselves deeper, they haul another bucket of doo-doo from the bottom of the well they're in. Is Kate dead? Of course not. Is the PR team still, for some inexplicable reason, acting like they're covering up her murder? Yes, and I for one find that freaking hilarious. It should be illegal to have a bus stop without a bench. I am 1000% serious right now. No, because as a disabled person, if a bus stop doesn't have a bench, I either sit on the ground or I pass out. Seating is so flipping important. Ants are a form of thing known for traveling in cliques. They're small in size, unknown in color, and bashful in temperament. Every ant has 2 appendages they use to hurt other beings, and 4 appendages for other activities. Scientists have discovered many types of ants: gay, Protestant, electric, and chill. Their wealth is considered low. Okay, putting a flower crown on serial killers harms absolutely nobody. When was the last time someone was actually injured by a serial killer? The 50s? Sorry if you think this is a trend, but putting a circlet of flowers on top of a real human being that drove a 5-inch steel knife into an innocent person's beating heart can be qualified as self-expression. Learn it. P.S. I play Reaper in Overwatch and talk like Solid Snake when I'm on the phone. I could hack the stock market if I needed to. Bye. I can't decide what my favorite line of this is. It's March. You know what that means. Animals learn their most vital skill first. Hours-old foal can run. A newly hatched snake can bite. What do babies do? Babies cry. Your most important survival skill is asking for help. This is such an important thing to remember. Important life lesson here. I have the window open and just saw a cat run by, followed by a lady shrieking, "Rasputin!" He strikes once again. Background. I came out to my parents as gay last month. This Easter morning, I come downstairs to find my basket, a tradition in my family, and I can't find it anywhere. My mom gives me a hint. It's where you were last year. The basket was in the freaking closet. I thought this was going to be so bad. Mom of the year. Moving out of the apartment. This is, without a doubt, the saddest photo I've ever seen in my entire life. Story time. So in undergrad, my bestie lived in a true crap hole of an apartment. When he moved in, he threw a housewarming party and brought out a bunch of washable markers and let us all draw on the walls. Being a tribe of feral rapscallions, we started competing to see who could draw the most obnoxious/offensive things. If I remember correctly, there was George Bush Frenching Ronald Reagan, a skeleton with chesticles, some very rude portraits of the Pope, etc, etc. Now, one of our friends, who I hope to God has gone to therapy since then, shut himself up in the walk-in closet and painted the entire back of the door. He wouldn't let anyone see it till he was done, and guys, I had nightmares about it. He driven a Lovecraftian monster like you wouldn't believe. It had eyes where it shouldn't have eyes, teeth where it shouldn't have teeth, and no matter where you stood, it looked at you. We were all suitably impressed and horrified. Anyway, 4 years later, Bestie moves out and repaints the entire apartment. Years and years later, I was talking to him and brought up the closet door monster. He visibly paled and confessed, "Oh God, I forgot to paint the inside of the door." Is lying ever ethically correct? Yes? No? No nuance allowed. Put your nuance in the tags. I just want a yes or no answer. Who voted no? Immanuel Kant isn't going to bang you. Business name's the 1800s. Primary flour, just cement. Worldwide copper, the only gasoline you should be allowed to buy. Business name's the 1900s. Axiom, Artemis Manufacturing. Pinnacle Hygienics, Olympian Glue, Divine Yogurt, the coolest car manufacturer with the largest hog in town. Business names in the 2000s: Gooby, Turna, Klooper, Jumbly, Donger, Schnet, Pungu, Pooble, Wii U. So I am sitting here playing solitaire on the Linkin Park website, and the computer lost the 4 of clubs. It literally is missing a card. There is nowhere it could be hiding. The 4 of clubs is just not there. Why are you playing solitaire on the Linkin Park website? What they don't show you in The Incredibles. It's slightly less horrifying when you remember that she's Elastigirl, so her body is allowed to stretch like that. When your hair is wavy/curly, sometimes there's a fine line between messy romantic waves and evil witch who lives in the woods. When your hair is fine and straight, there's a fine line between sleek and elegant and weasel dipped in grease. When your hair is thick, there's a fine line between gorgeous vibrant bounce and it's Hagrid. Every day, I think about getting my height checked at my endocrinologist and the nurse going, "Why is every trans guy we get in here 5'4"? Uncalled for." Also, being at the dentist and saying, "Hey, my paperwork says blank, but I'm nude," and her, without skipping a beat, saying, "Oh, did your mom pick that one out too?" Obliterated. Nurse making comments about short trans guys. Call that a microaggression. If I was Orpheus, I would simply not turn around. Yes, you would. If you were Orpheus and you love Eurydice, you would. To love someone is to turn around. To love someone is to look at them. Whichever version of the myth, he hears her stumble, he can't hear her at all, he thinks he's been tricked, he turns around because he loves her. That's why it's a tragedy, because he loves her enough to save her. Because he loves her so much, he can't save her, because he will always, always turn around. If I was Orpheus, I would simply, you wouldn't be Orpheus. You wouldn't be brave enough to walk into the underworld and save the person you love. Be serious. If I was Orpheus, I would simply shut the hell up. Anyway, Madagascar, Mort's incredibly disturbing secrets exposed. Mort, part 1, theory. There are 3 other parts of this and it adds up to almost 2 hours of dissecting whatever these cartoon rats' sins are. Never mind, this rat is genuinely messed up. In 4th grade, my BFF was in a death feud over chess with a boy in our class, but instead of competing like normal people, they decided that the best way to determine who is chess master was for each one of them to select one of the 2 biggest idiots in class and teach them to play chess, My Fair Lady style, and see whose idiot won. We are just now, 22 years later, grappling with the moral implications of this exercise. Female privilege is getting to claim a headache to avoid coitus. Female oppression is having to claim physical illness to avoid the hanky-panky because men won't take a simple freaking no for an answer. Female oppression is men being so entitled that they think being denied intercourse is oppressive. You always wanted to be a healer. Unfortunately, your dad was a necromancer and your mother a demon summoner, so your healing was a bit unconventional to say the least. Listen, is he alive? Technically no, but his body is moving and his soul is controlling it, so frankly, I don't see a problem. For legal purposes, I can't say I resurrected him. So we're calling this Life 2 Electric Boogaloo. Pound's a monster at 9 PM. Why can't I ever sleep at night? Wait, I meant the drink, Imagine being stuck in a room surrounded by everyone you've ever had coitus with. Empty chairs at empty tables. Imagine being stuck in a room surrounded by everyone you've ever thought about having coitus with. Oh god, no! Oh god, yes. Imagine your cousin sitting there, wondering what he has in common with these people. What? 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 Jokes that will literally never not be funny to me. Saying speedrun strats every time you mess up. Saying first try when you've tried the thing like 15 times minimum. Saying skill issue when something is 100% outside of anyone's control. I know I'm a bit late to saying this, but frankly, if I found out a secret society of magic users were just playing nonsense sports and making up slurs for the rest of us, instead of helping us out with famines or leukemia, I think I'd apply for a job with my local witch hunters. In one of Harry and Hagrid's very first interactions, Harry asks the obvious question of, why is magic secret? And Hagrid's explanation is, because if people knew about magic, then they'd want magic solutions to their problems. Withholding help and letting people suffer is explicitly the reason they do this. One of the biggest tells that I used to read Homestuck is how I instinctively draw dogs, : I refuse to believe the obvious fact that sandwiches weren't a mode of food construction for the vast majority of human history, because I hate thinking about it. It's so obvious. I need to yell at my distant ancestors about how they're using bread suboptimally. Counterpoint. they figured out dumplings pretty early, which are basically just improved sandwiches, which take a little longer, but then you make them in batches and it all works out. To expand on this, in order for sandwiches to really work in practice, you have to have efficient refrigeration and quick heating, both easily accessible for small batches of sandwich toppings. For most of history, most food would have been cooked and stored in large batches to prevent spoiling, which is ideal for dumplings, but not for sandwiches. Hence, the early development of sandwiches as convenience foods for the wealthy. The economic conditions were not sufficient for mass ensandwichment until less than a couple centuries ago. This is the funniest expression ever pulled in all of Star Wars history. Clearly you don't own an air fryer. It's not an appliance the Jedi would sell you. Imagine if Frisk didn't know English very well, and their experience in the underground helped them learn English better, but they end up with a monster accent and monster dialect for the rest of their life. Yes, please, someone make this a thing! Why do you pronounce soul and determination like that? What's wrong with the way I pronounce soul and determination? A society that allows people to starve when there is food has failed. Like, that's it. People arguing with this saying, "Why do people deserve food for free?" is honestly just further proof of the failure. Today I learned that in 1903, the New York Times predicted that building a flying machine will be possible in 1 to 10 million years. To understand how ridiculous this is, the first successful powered airplane flew this same year, 1903. You're understating how ridiculous. It wasn't just the same year, it was 9 days later. Alright, here's today's controversial post. A good amount of you on here will be like, English was my favorite subject. And then reblog posts like, here is why romance scenes can't have symbolism, and stop consuming media with toxic characters. Like, okay, so what were you doing in your English classes then? Because it apparently wasn't learning or analyzing. I'm pretty sure it was doodling pictures of eyes. You'd think a Muppet Sherlock Holmes would cast Kermit as Holmes and Miss Piggy as Watson based on body type, but no, you'd be wrong. Holmes is Miss Piggy and Watson is Kermit, and you know I am right. Can someone who can draw Muppets help me out here? I can see it so clearly. I got you, girl. Wait, people on Tumblr are real freaking people? No, I'm a search engine. No, I'm not. I'm a grocery store. No, I'm a dog water music platform. No, I'm an online game. No, I'm a country. Yeah, no, I'm a country too. Not a real person. Sorry.
No, this is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
No, I'm a fanfic website. Nope, I'm staff. I'm a trolley. I'm wanted by the US government for insignificant crimes and also a real train. Where's OSHA official? OSHA's dead, honey. One of my earliest memories is my dad teaching me how to mine in RuneScape 2 so we could have an undetectable mining bot. His child. The children yearn for the mines. Cyclops gets such a rough deal, man. Imagine having brain damage that caused you to uncontrollably shoot laser blasts out of your eyeballs, destroying everything in sight that you had to worry about literally 24/7, and also you had to supervise teenagers throwing cars at each other because your father figure and his ex are taking leftist infighting to the streets, and also on top of that, whenever you show any amount of concern over this situation, people are like, geez, what a buzzkill. Loosen up, control freak. Why can't you be all chill and cool like Wolverine? Meanwhile, Wolverine is having his amygdala forcibly removed by the US military for the 3rd time this month. Some days I'm like male symbol, and some days I'm like female symbol. I thought these were twins for a moment, but no, it's just somebody who is better than me in 2 whole genders. Every few months, Twitteriness bring back the carnivores are a problematic element of nature, and we should feed them synthetic meat and make it so they don't eat herbivores. This is completely normal, feasible, and won't have any kind of repercussion on the ecosystem discourse. First time I saw that was a guy who had a proposition to create fake prey animals with a robotic exoskeleton and covered in synthetic meat that predators would hunt, eat, and then the exoskeleton would get up and go to the lab to get re-meated. That was funny as hell. Tiger watching skinless carcass it just ate, get up and walk away. Actually, we should totally do this, but not for like ideological veganism reasons, just because it'd be funny as like an animal social experiment. Doing this with real meats, there's not even a hypothetical animal rights angle, just completely unwarranted and unmitigated freak behavior. Aperture science behavior. Cave Johnson here. Watched a wolf maul another meat android again, and then have a total existential freakout when the robot got up and trotted off. Still funny. Keep up the good work. Got bored, so I made myself a maze in Minecraft, put iron golems at the start, punched them, and proceeded to run for my life. So far, I've been killed 6 times. When you get past the fear stage, it's actually really fun. I just realized I never put an exit on the maze, and that's probably why I keep being cornered and dying. The resume, yet another contemptuous and despicable piece of work from the French. My brain, you have so many tight deadlines, so many things on your weekly schedule, so many important jobs. You have to get important work done. My hands. The first line of any book can be vastly improved by making sure the second line reads, "And then the murders began. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and then the murders began. In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit, and then the murders began. Maman died today, and then the murders began." Tika Whalen straightened her back with a sigh, flexing her shoulders to ease her cramped muscles, and then the murders began. The Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game is about storytelling in worlds of swords and sorcery, and then the murders began. Messed up how humanity discovered electricity and radiation and made machines and learned to make airplanes and cure diseases, and our takeaway isn't that some magic is real and here's why, but that magic is fake. This is big boy science and it's totally not magical. Me upon being a Sekai to a fantasy world. You say you don't have magic, but you conjured up that frog the other day. What's with that? Wizard who spent decades mastering his craft, understands how and why it works, and processes it entirely as a regular part of his day-to-day life. Did you just call creature conjuring magic? Works the other way around too in isekais. That wizard, and you said you don't have magic in your world, but there are lights that come on that do not use candles or flames or emit any heat at all. The moment that you walk into a room, you don't even have to say anything? Me, squirming uncomfortably. For a while, there was an earlier version that ran off of 2 claps. The wizard, an earlier version of what? The spell? The spell you use to make the lights come on? When you have to conquer Mongolia, but the cat needs a walk first. Are those cat ears? My first joke I ever made was drawing a comic where 2 people are staring at a dress in the window of a store. One of them says, "I would die for that dress." And the other says, "I would kill for that dress." And then they look at each other awkwardly. This was when I was like 6, and every day I wake up knowing I'll never be able to top this. My magnum opus. A friend of mine got top surgery and they swapped his nipples. Like, he had a mole next to one, and after the surgery, the mole was on the other side. Oh my god. The whole switcheroo. This should not be the route Amtrak recommends to get from Minneapolis to Denver. Lamau, sounds like someone isn't used to non-Euclidean rail. Just walk. God, I love people who refer to anything as an adventure. Want to go on an adventure? Goes to McDonald's for ice cream at 1 a.m. It's me. I am people, lol. Body positivity has largely failed because people started arguing for attractiveness and romantic prospects instead of respect and dignity. Nobody needs to find anybody attractive, but everybody needs to find all physical flaws insignificant when judging a person's worth. This is truly the best summary of what all of this should be about. Stand-up comedian hired to play Willy Wonka at the widely criticized Willy's Chocolate Experience breaks his silence. I'm constantly applying for more acting jobs and comedy work. Then I got a phone call saying, "Congratulations, you are going to play Willy Wonka. We will send you over the script and dress rehearsal is tomorrow." The script was 15 pages of AI-generated gibberish of me just monologuing these mad things. At the end of my monologue, I was supposed to suck up the unknown man with a vacuum cleaner. I asked them if they had a vacuum cleaner, and they said, "Yeah, we haven't really got there yet, so just improvise." This story is one of the most bizarre I've ever come across. They even misspelt my contract, but I do have a legally binding contract. What? You ever see someone extremely borked up views or actions think, wow, if a couple things in my life went the tiniest bit differently, that would have been me? I think most people benefit from reflecting on how this might be true for them. Sometimes people complain about media, both fiction and nonfiction, that they think humanizes bad people, especially bigots, fascists, Nazis, etc. I'm just like, hey, the problem is they are human. Humans did that. Your next door neighbor could do that. Your grandma could do that. You could do that. No, I'm a good person. Why? Because you've gotten lucky and not seen propaganda yet that perfectly hit your buttons? Because you had people to correct you when you screwed up? I don't know, man. I don't think we're all so different from the bad people. We're all just people. Reminding ourselves of our shared humanity with terrible people does not serve to justify their actions. It serves to remind us that the seeds of what happened to them could get into us as well, or might already have. It reminds us to be vigilant and interrogate the hatred inside us. If you convince yourself that you're just an inherently good person who would never believe hateful things, well, now any little hateful thing that gets its way inside you undetected is never going to be interrogated. It will be left to grow undisturbed. If you remember that those things can get into anyone, you know to look out for them and weed them out when they appear. Take the criticism when others point them out in you. So remember, that could have been you. If you forget, maybe it will be. Gothitelle unleashes psychic energy and shows opponents dreams of the universe's end. These dreams are apparently ethereal and beautiful. My level 12 Pidgey looking up at me after Gothitelle showed it the heat death of the universe. I just really wanted to draw a Pidgey saying the heat death of a universe. I said it was my favorite piece of media that I've hyperfixated on since the tender age of 12 and have not let go of since. I didn't say it was a good piece of media. What do you like about it so much? The fact that it cocooned me like a tender wool blanket during my vulnerable teenage years? Next question. I think we shoo-wad terraform Earth to make it completely flat because it'd be fun. I meant completely smooth, but flat it actually funnier. New flat or theoroid, we could do it. Soup du jour, soup of the day. Soup de jure, soup the government wants you to eat. Soup de facto, the soup everyone actually eats. Soup de resistance, a very impressive and popular soup emerges. Soup d'etat, ousting the previous soup of the day and installing your own. Soup de grace, execution of the deposed soup of the day. There is no liberal indoctrination in college, sweets. Meanwhile, thousands of colleges have a liberal arts program, and there's not a single one with a conservative arts program. The conservative arts! It's called a business degree. I think conservative arts is what NFTs are. This girl that sits with me was complaining about another girl because she likes the same band as her, but doesn't dress like it, so obviously she doesn't really listen to them. How do you dress like the music you listen to? As an Imagine Dragons fan, I am never seen not in a full dragon costume. As an Arctic Monkeys fan, this is me. Freshly peeled sheeps. Reblogging solely for that deeply unnerving caption. Freshly peeled sheeps. Screw this. Does everyone just not see the blood scrapes on some of their backs and faces? Anyone, seriously, correct me if I'm wrong, because this isn't making me upset AF. Domesticated sheep need to be sheared because they don't shed their coats on their own and it can be bad for their health if it gets too big. Also, it looks, considering how close they cut, that it went fairly well. I see like 2 nicks maybe, but with the photo it's hard to tell. I mean, unfortunately, you're going to nick a few animals because they don't understand the order of stand still very well. Sheep can die from heat exhaustion if they aren't sheared. Also, their skin secretes lanolin, which quickly soothes and heals any nicks they get during shearing. In conclusion, it is good to peel the sheeps. Please peel your sheeps. Investigation of wall begins. Today I learned. What'd you learn, Ricky? Not sure. Making a list.
Yes, wonderful, excellent, yes, yes.
Having to actually do the things on the list. Well, this sucks. What the great jump in Jehoshaphat. Getting to then cross things off the list.
Yes, wonderful, excellent, yes, yes.
6-hour workday maximum, I'm not kidding. If it can't be done in that time frame, it doesn't need doing. This doesn't apply to jobs like childcare. If I worked in childcare and my 6 hours were up, I would start putting babies in Ziploc bags and shipping them to Turkmenistan listed as endangered fruits and vegetables. I sometimes see people argue about one of these circles as though it were all 3 circles. Sometimes something can totally make sense in-universe and fit with the themes of the story, the characters, etc., and you just don't like it for whatever reason. Maybe it wasn't done well in spite of that, or touched a nerve, etc. Maybe you loved a story and it was an excellent exploration of a character, but it would be totally fair to call it the technical nonsense and how even in universe it doesn't add up. And maybe you thought this episode of a show was great, but it was non-canon, nothing made sense, and ultimately it was utter nonsense. And so on and so forth. Heck, you could fairly add more circles to this. I'm keeping it simple with 3. My point is mostly that there's nuance to opinions, and sometimes someone not liking something in a story has nothing to do with whether it made sense or complemented the narrative. Those things can be separate points. Stories don't have to be a failure at everything to be disliked, or succeed at everything to be liked, and arguing as though that were the case is silly. Here's the thing I keep trying to articulate and possibly failing. I don't actually mind characters who are terrible people. I have enjoyed many. What I mind is characters who are terrible people while the narrative keeps trying to say that they are wonderful, often contradicting what the narrative shows us with no self-awareness. The problem is not the goodness or badness of the character. The problem is the extreme disconnect between telling, by the narrative, not other characters, and showing. Adult life tip. Do not buy a cabbage unless you have one of the following. 1. A recipe that uses a whole cabbage. 2. 200 recipes that use some cabbage. 3. A desire to waste an entire half cabbage. I know that ACAB is an acronym for All Cops Are Bing Bongs, but every time I see it, I still think assigned cop at birth. Sir? Ma'am? It's a cop.
No. Surely there's a mistake.
Lost Panel 5. In case of implosion, look directly at implosion. Valve actually put that sign in game because playtesters would destroy the generator and then turn around immediately and not see the implosion animation they'd worked so hard on. Little girls who go around after it rains and pick up the worms off the sidewalk and throw them back in the dirt are the cornerstone of our society, and we should all strive to have that level of compassion for each other and for the natural world. This was written by a grateful worm. Aren't we all grateful worms in one way or another? I need feminism because when Jesus does a magic trick, it's a goddamn miracle, but when a woman does a magic trick, she gets burned at the stake. Fabulous. I mean, they did also kill Jesus. That was a pretty significant thing that happened. Like, I understand where you're coming from here, but they very much did kill Jesus. Happy Good Friday! This ASMR stuff getting crazy. Like, I'm trying to think, who the kind of person who needs this? It's always bad for adults to interact with minors. Which is why when I was born, my mother was positioned at the window and I was birthed down a giant slip and slide that safely transported me to the hospital grounds, where I was quickly accepted and raised by a gang of feral babies who were born under similar circumstances. And that's why my posts are so bad. Hey, what the great googly moogly happens in Homestuck? Had a dream last night that the new Tumblr discourse was whether or not people deserve their URLs, and people are getting callouts and anon hate like, I can't believe you have X in your URL when I never see you actually post about them. It's pretty messed up that you're taking that URL away from other people who actually deserve it, // This was genuine discourse in 2012. You guys need to remember your history. Do you seriously think you're above the rules? The stupid ones, yeah. If you want me to follow the rules, you have to make sure they're not stupid. This isn't a difficult concept to grasp. My new roommate's best friend literally says, we'll just go out for one drink on a weeknight, goes to a club, has one drink while everyone else is getting to it, and then tells everyone when it's time to go home so they can actually make it to class in the morning, and I'm genuinely terrified by the amount of self-control she has. Saying you'll just have one drink at the club on a school night, and then following through and getting up for class the next day demonstrates the exact level of resolve it took to amputate your own arm on an 18th century battlefield. Drake? Josh? Where's the body of Christ? It's fun reading writers who clearly grew up in suburban/urban environments as someone who grew up on a farm, because they're always like, oh, it was so creepy, woods at night, eerily breathtaking, something was living in there. And it's like, yeah, that'll be the deer. City person writing a creepy forest, they heard a sound. Rural person writing a creepy forest, they heard no sound. Exactly! Adult politicians, teenagers shouldn't vote because the part of their brain that deals with prioritizing long-term goals or immediate satisfaction isn't fully developed. Teenagers, please stop destroying the planet. Adult politicians, but the planet won't be unlivable for decades and I want oil money now. Today I learned about the Uncensored Library, a project by Reporters Without Borders. Inside the library are articles by journalists who have been killed, jailed, or exiled by governments. These articles can be viewed in the countries of those governments, bypassing these countries' censorship. This fails to mention that the library is in Minecraft and the articles are in Minecraft books. Warning about new scam. Someone asks you, who played the chimney sweeper in Mary Poppins? You then answer, Dick Van Dyke. They report you and you get a 1-week mute. This just happened to me. Be warned. This reminds me of a prank I saw a guy make in a Rust server where he asked for a country in Africa that starts with the letter N, and when you answer Nigeria, you get banned for a month. 911 operator who is also a Redditor. I'm sorry, but you should have noped the flip out of there. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Mom spilled trace amount of curry powder on the floor. Oh, cool, okay, I'll sweep it up in a sec. Go to the bathroom, come back. Curry powder is suspiciously less. Cat is suspiciously yellow. Artistic recreation. OP, I love this so much that I embroidered it. Behold, my regenerative kitty blast, 432 hertz. Some girls can only get off with relativistic quasar jets to the bean. I just realized we don't even know what dinosaurs sound like. They could have been speaking fluent German for all we know. It's too early for this. Guten Morgen, Herr Pterodactyl. Wie geht's, Frau Mastodon? Oh my god, neither of those are dinosaurs. There's 145 million years separating them both. This post is a paleontological disaster. Really funny to me that Rainbow Six Siege players are toxic, but in specific ways. They do not care if you play a character that is trans or non-binary, but they will care if you pick an annoying one. They can handle gay, but they cannot freaking stand if you have bad aim. Boy, oh boy, the molasses in that tank sure does smell delicious on this fine day in Boston, the 15th of January, 1919. I'd gladly swim in this stuff if I had the chance. Hold on, let me Google something. What the flip? God, can you imagine GLaDOS equipped with TikTok therapy speak? She'd be unbearable. Are you in the headspace to receive negative information about your weight? My love language is testing, and by not testing, you're really disrespecting my boundaries. Holding space in my life for deadly neurotoxin. Romantic mercenary. I'll kill anyone. For the right woman. Kind-hearted bandit. Cough up your coin. If you've any to spare, that is. I know times are tough. I'm here for you. Gnomish New Yorker. Oh my god, they hit the twin mushrooms. Oh my god, it's 9/11. Do you think elves are really sick of this hairstyle? Like, on Elf Grindr, this is how all the most obnoxious dudes look. Your instrument even has that hairstyle. I invite you over to my house. While we're greeting each other at the door, I turn around and yell, "Down, boy, down, no!" And you just see a caterpillar moving very slowly across the floor toward you. This post pulls me out of depression every time I have it on speed dial. It is extremely bark, though, how much of mainstream feminism has become it's sexist to criticize girls for anything. Meanwhile, the trans misogynists have run away with, "My sacred divine womb makes me a victim to the ever-probing willy of male-dominated society." And it's like, we still haven't even freed the nipple. Elf TV, exclusively 300 season-long soap operas. Dwarf TV, How It's Mined, followed by a 4.5-hour documentary about salt. Gnome TV, those sensory videos for cats where bugs and mice and birds crawl around on the screen. They really like this. Orc TV, Mythbusters and Top Gear reruns. Halfling TV, the most incredible, impassioned storytelling you've ever witnessed, always neatly contained in 2 seasons max. Fairy TV, imagine impractical jokers, except they're capable of stealing people's faces. This is the only show that fairies have. I need to see BDSM haters go on rants about the evils of capsaicin. It's ridiculous to believe that anyone truly enjoys eating spicy food. Capsaicin literally evolved as a deterrent to keep mammals from eating it. Oh, you like eating spicy food? You like crying in your nose running at the table while you're trying to just enjoy dinner? Just admit you have brain rot from watching too many episodes of Hot Ones, and go. I would never let someone eat spicy food in front of me. Like, that's literally a chemical irritant that burns your tissue. Anyone who would willingly let their partner, let alone assist their partner, in this act of obvious self-harm is an abuser. If I was on a date with someone and they ordered Szechuan hot pot, I would simply get up and leave. If you haven't heard about the dudification of baseball uniforms, okay, so they're manufactured by Fanatics now. It's not uncommon for fan replica jerseys to suck, but now the players themselves are wearing uniforms that are just as cheap. So cheap, they look like bootlegs. They're flimsy and stuff that used to be actually stitched on is now just a patch or graphic. All that is bad, but there's a bigger problem with the new MLB uniforms. See if you can spot it. Which one of these brave men will go commando to get them to fix the problem? How dare you hide this in the tags? Even the flattest of baseball players has a dump truck yat. You can't do this to them. The catcher is gonna pop a squat, and one of the buttons will fly at 100 miles per hour and strike the ref in the head, killing them instantly. I mean, no offense to kids' TV shows, but full offense to Tumblr users when I say that I fully believe the reason there's so many posts calling for there to be more mature and unsanitized media, and especially queer media, is because Tumblr users only watch media that's for freaking 12-year-olds who are still developing their prefrontal cortexes. Seriously, think about it. What are the shows that constantly get discourse and big essays and think pieces on Tumblr? It's often shows like She-Ra, Steven Universe, Avatar and Legend of Korra, Owl House, Voltron, and stuff like that. Media for kids is massive on here. Like, I get it. I like kids media. I really do. You can't keep eating baby food well into your 20s, then complain that baby food doesn't taste good anymore. I'm not trying to say that kids media isn't real media, or all queer media should be mature epics about war and death, I swear. But you can't keep eating baby food and also complaining that it doesn't taste mature. Besides, 90% of the people here couldn't handle Has Been Hotel. Y'all are not ready for any media more mature than that. I kinda wanna make one of these people talking about more unsanitized queer media read a Mishima Yukio novel. Sci-fi short stories are so efficient. They take 15 minutes to read, and then you think about them for the next 5 years. Hey guys, what if puts the most horrifying, mind-blowing concept into your head with about 15 pages? I don't know what joyless geek decided it was sinful to enjoy food and love and earthly pleasure, but that guy was dead wrong. You're actually supposed to feel everything as much as possible, by the way. Quick, Caesar is facing away. Get him! Head, neck, back, 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 booty, leg, 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 foot? How did you hear about us? Monster, newspaper, other. Me, sobbing in the woods. The eldritch horror that's been watching me from behind a tree.
Red Lobster's hiring.
Me, turns around. Oh, damn, for real? I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, but Europe is kind of like a miniature America. All the landscapes and trees and stuff are small. They're little versions of the stuff we got going on over here. Even your big things like the Alps are so cute. You could put a fun roller coaster up there and make it a little ride for the kids.
The only big thing you lot have are obesity rates, school shootings, medical debt, and carcinogenic diets. The Alps are the biggest mountain range in the world.
It took 7 minutes for a European to bring up school shootings and obesity on a post talking about geography. Today's seal is vandalized. When I was a kid, one of my moms would call her period moon time or her monthlies, or crap like that, and my other mom straight up stealthed it. But when I'm a dad, I think I'm gonna go straight down the middle and call it werewolf week. Like, sorry kids, dad can't roughhouse right now, it's werewolf week. One of my moms, points finger, child of lesbiabs. I actually have 6 parents and 3 moms total, but they're all straight as far as I'm aware. Polyamorous parents or divorce? Turbo divorce. What the heck is a turbo divorce? It's when you end up with 6 parents. Minotaur is not a species. The Minotaur was named that because he was the son of King Minos. Anyone with a bullhead has to be named after their dad, like the Kyletar or something. I mean, the Minotaur's dad was not King Minos. That was a pretty significant thing that happened. Like, I understand where you're coming from here, but the Minotaur's dad very much was not King Minos. I'm sorry, you can't hide this gem in the tags. He's not the stepdad, he's just the dad that stepped down. When I came out as trans, I had an old friend from my church days message me to congratulate me and ask me for my name and pronouns, and I was shocked, to be honest, because he was such a head deep up the church's butt kind of guy, so I was super wary. And after digging a little deeper, I found out that he was very supportive of transness, saying that trans men are men and trans women are women. But he also believed in the church's gender roles, meaning that trans women had to marry men and be submissive wives, and trans men had to marry women and be strong Christian husbands. Which is like, huh? The weirdest and most surreal form of trans-inclusive misogyny I've ever seen. Okay, I know I acted silly about this, but the fact that there is one singular year-round roller skating rink in the city of Philadelphia, home to 1.6 million people, is kind of freaking horrifying when you think about the broader implications of it. We live in a society without access to third places, and those that existed in the past are dying or dead. There aren't cafes on the corner anymore, they are illegal to open with current US zoning laws. There aren't cheap movie theaters anymore. Skating rinks are dying out. Community centers have been getting shut down or underfunded for decades. Apart from parks and libraries, there are literally no places that people can exist in without being expected to spend money. How does society function without leisure? Is not pleasure and happiness what we live for, and yet in the capitalistic system, we destroyed every option people have for recreation without spending because we as a society place profit above all else, and that is tearing away the societal fabric as we can barely deal with it. The current loneliness epidemic is a direct result of how we have taken away places for people to exist and replaced them with places to spend money at. You don't try to meet new people while shopping for clothes or furniture, you avoid others. We complain children and teens don't go outside, but we have totally removed every single thing for them to do that isn't digital. And I know none of this is original, but yeah, I got thinking about the death of the third place in American society because I looked up roller rinks in Philadelphia.